Well, friends, welcome back. I am doing something over here on my main channel that I have not done in a very long time. I have not done public Q&As in quite a while because obviously I've been dealing with a lot of things and Q&As have just not sounded like a good time. Everything I have to go by how I feel, how my emotions are doing, how's my body doing, am I giving myself, 100 extra things I have to process that I don't really have to process right now with this other long list of stuff that I'm processing. And for a long time, I didn't want to sit here for an hour and just cry at every question. But I think we can get through the questions without crying this time. And also, as many of you know, I have been gearing up to host a live training that's actually going to be tonight. So if you want to get in on my live YouTuber training that I am hosting today, be sure to click the first link in the description below and you can still sign up. If you come upon this video in the future and you still want to sign up for my free training, you'll be able to click through that link and catch the replay when it's most convenient to you. But if you want to be in on me live hosting it today, Saturday, sign up now. So I also wanted to do several Q&As because I figure, number one, there's probably a whole lot of questions out there since it's been a while since I've done one. And this is Mama's version of, hey Jim Morrell, how do you do all the things? Which is, we're gonna have several variations of those questions. How do you work full-time and homeschool and do this and launch this course and buy all your food and all of it. All the questions, buckle up, we're getting to it. But one of the ways why I'm getting videos out on this channel while I've been preparing to host my live training and I've been preparing to launch my YouTuber Extraordinaire course, I have so much coming with that and bonus live training for my students. And I'm putting so much time and energy, I'm in the vortex, to teaching mamas how to use what they have and build online businesses from scratch using what they have to work with, particularly by starting and growing a YouTube channel and springboarding a business from there. Because for me and my story, and I'll be sharing more details of this in my training that you can sign up for in the pinned comment below, I actually had a successful six-figure-a-year business before I got going on YouTube. So I had that online business, which is not required for starting a YouTube channel and making YouTube into a full-time income stream or more than full-time income stream. But for me, as a bootstrapping, building a business from scratch kind of mama, that's what helped me 10 years ago. My little self-taught online marketing brain, I just saw so much potential for reaching people, not even so much marketing, but I was a blogger. And so I wrote encouraging homeschool mom blog posts and I sent emails and I was even getting into speaking at large homeschool conferences. And it was all about reaching people with the tools I had. I started online originally in 2008, just as a lonely homeschool mom looking to connect with other moms. And so that's how a whole lot of us moms online ended up online, because it's tools that we have since we've had the internet and we can connect with people that way. I was at my farmhouse. I did not have a lot to work with, but I did have an internet connection and I had a laptop, and I was in my early homeschooling years. I was using the internet as a tool to learn more about homeschooling. I was homeschooling on a very small budget. I tried to spend $100 a year. During my super frugal years, the same years when I had that $250 to $300 a month grocery budget, I was trying to homeschool for $100 a year, designing my own curriculum, using my library card, making lap books, and I was also searching deeply for online resources that were free and frugal, and I was looking for any free field trip, free event, an educational road trip that we could take where I could bring our own food and we could go and come back in one day. I was working my resources. And I quickly fell in love with the internet. And I remember some of my very early blog posts when I got into blogging were about how I was cleaning my farmhouse with my own homemade vinegar spray, how I was buying my chicken leg quarters in those 7 to 10 pound bags of chicken. I think they were 69 cents or so a pound, maybe even less back then. And I was taking my very small budget. I was buying my, I think 15 pounds of ground beef at the beginning of the month. I feel like it should have been more, but at that time I had 5 children ages 12 and under. So I bought my ground beef at the beginning of the month. I bought my 2 or 3 bags of chicken leg quarters. So it was actually many pounds of chicken, and I would boil those 1 bag at a time, took them out of the bag, of course, filled my stock pot with water. That stock pot finally got a hole in it all these years later because it was like the thinnest cheapest metal that I could buy at Walmart. I would boil that chicken down. I'd have my chicken meat for the month. I'd have my broth for the month. And I just did it pot after pot, 3 pots in one day. I would freeze that chicken that we pre-cooked. Of course, I kept some out to do meals starting that week. Same thing with my ground beef. I learned then, so I wouldn't have ground beef mess every time I cooked ground beef. Now, of course, I was buying 70-30 ground beef. I know several of you have said, I didn't even know 70-30 ground beef was a thing. It's a thing at the Walmart. If you're looking for cheap meat, and I don't know this day that it's necessarily so cheap, but it's still probably the cheapest option at Walmart. I bought the rolls 70-30%. That means 30% fat. How do you do that? Well, you can rinse it, okay? It's greasy. But I cooked that ground beef at the beginning of the month, and then I froze it a couple pounds at a time, and I had my meat ready to go for my classic taco, spaghetti, chili, sloppy joes, whatever meals I was doing. Beef stroganoff and all of that. So I was very, 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 very inspired when I started to catch wind that my hobby of blogging could eventually actually make some money, and my goal was to double my grocery budget. Now, I have shared so much about blogging, how I not only doubled my grocery budget, but my goodness, my first month, not my first month blogging, but my first month once I created my second blog that just caught on like wildfire because of the base of homeschool moms I had already gathered with my first blog. You know, the first month that second blog made enough to double my grocery budget. The next month it made as much as my house payment, and just on and on and on. And it scaled into a full-time business that brought in over 6 figures. And that connects so many people to, J. Morrell, where's your blogging course? And I will say, I thought for a long time I would do a blogging course. There are a lot of wonderful blogging courses out there. And my blog, largefamilytable.com, that's there. It's got so many recipes that I've done and shared over the years, and I still use that blog as my home base. And that blog, I have not actually updated, I have not published a new recipe over there in 2 or 3 years. That blog just sitting there, and that is not the popular blog that I talk about that brought in the 6 figures a year that ended up selling in 2018. Large Family Table is what I created after I sold the second blog. It's actually my 3rd blog, and I use it as my brand home base. And it has my recipe hub for folks who want to get free meal plans, free recipes, and such. However, that blog just sitting there made $850 last month. Now, I'm not doing the math on what it has brought in as far as when people go to read recipes, when they go to get my other resources, when they get on my email list, and when they click through and then go to my shop. My Shopify store is shop.largefamilytable.com, and over there I sell my big batch freezer cooking guides, skillet guides, my salad and jars guides. So many products are over there. And on Shopify, I can see where that traffic comes. I know I'm getting into so many different business structures. My point is, we can do hand signals. LargeFamilyTable.com has an ad network on it, and just sitting there not being consistently updated because I have other priorities in this season. Hello YouTube and hello teaching. That blog will still make $800 to $1,500 just sitting there with the ad network on it. And that tells me, yes, eventually, one of my 2025 goals, you know, my business goals for 2025 are to continue to do the things that have worked well for me, to finish up loose end projects, like getting my YouTuber teaching course out, and to fine tune the things I have working for me, such as at some point in 2025, I'm gonna start knocking some dust over on largefamilytable.com. I'm gonna freshen it up, and I'm gonna start to have a goal to get 1 to 2 new recipes out a week, maybe another chatty blog post. We're gonna see. Here's the thing. I can see that there's potential there because what it makes just sitting there, but also blogging itself has changed a lot from where I decided to start doing heavy hobby blogging in 2011, and then on my timeline to when I then was looking and hoping and praying and being scrappy, thinking up an idea on how I can make money blogging, and I started my second blog, pretty sure it was April 2012. And then I started playing on YouTube as a hobby, because I started to see a lot of potential on YouTube. You know, like I shared, there weren't a lot of grocery hauls, there wasn't a bunch of freezer cooking. I wasn't even aware of all the potential, but I could tell, I saw there was potential there to reach people and communicate. So then as a homeschool blogger with this popular homeschool blog, over 10 years ago, I started YouTube as a very small side hobby that I slowly hacked my way through over the next couple years. And in my course, I teach more about the things I learned and did while I was investigating YouTube part-time, while also running a full-time income business. And then things got to the point where I felt I had to make a decision. The J. Morrell, how do you do all these things question. I was pregnant with my 8th baby. I had kids of all ages and stages. I had many things on my popular blog hired out. And I was putting more and more of my time into this thing called YouTube. And whenever I look back at my analytics, I'm pretty sure while I still had my blog, one of my last years before I sold that blog and I was doing YouTube as a hobby, but I was monetized, I was starting to get some sponsors and my channel made about $30,000 that year. And so I was seeing potential there, and I had a lot of fun making videos. And I had a lot of fun connecting with you all. So many of you have been with me since I was doing my whiteboard in the Forest House kitchen, 2016. It's 4th of July. We're making tons of muffins. And so that was fun. And I also liked it because it was work that I could be moving and doing. You know, with blogging, it was sitting on a laptop. Now, not to be a crybaby, that was a blessing. Baby number 6 and baby number 7, I was pregnant with and I gave birth to, and I was breastfeeding them, and I was getting up early and sitting in the bed with them and doing my blogging things on my laptop. It was a blessing to have a job that I could do from my laptop and buy my kids brand new Walmart shoes when they needed them, get a dryer when I needed them. At one point, I remember there was an emergency. I was pregnant with baby number 6. The house started to fill with smoke. There was some, I'm gonna say chimney fire, but if you know chimney things, I put the wood stove out because we were heating with wood. I didn't feel that anymore. Had the fireplace company come the next day. The chimney needed a chimney liner. All of the work that was suddenly required was $3,000. Had that been outside of me having a profitable business, that would have been an emergency crisis for my household. We did not have $3,000 for chimney lining and chimney work. And so the fact that from my laptop, again, I continue to sell you on blogging, from my laptop, it's just part of my experience. I was able to produce an income for that provision was a blessing. I was getting burned out from the laptop. I am on my laptop very little, honestly. And I know being on screens, being on laptop, being on my phone, I mean, I know screens are something all of us deal with in our society. But also to grow that blogging business, it's not like I had this idea and I launched it. Boom, people came, wow, fire hydrant money came in, and no work was required of me. As a blogger, I saw the things that pushed and made that blog grow. And so many times I was working 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day in the cracks of time, sometimes 5 to 7 days a week. Well, how do you do that? Well, you get up at 5, you work 6, 7, 8, work 5 to 8, okay. 8 o'clock, run the household, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, we got a 4-hour morning there, but before that, mom was already up working 3 hours, and I know moms who do this, and I have done it. Then 12 or 1, you got the youngest kids going down for the nap, the older kids who've already done a lot of their homeschool and chores and life and such and things in the mornings. They can have a project and creative afternoon from 12, 1, 2, 3, or from 1 to 4. So there's 6 hours right there that I would work, 5 to 8, 1 to 4. Then we have mom comes out of her room or her dungeon, or I'd sit at the table and work. And then we'd have a family afternoon and evening, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7. And then I would get on my laptop and I would work 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's another 4 hours. So 6 hours, 3 in the morning, 3 at nap time, 4 at night. Bing, bang, boom, there's 10 hours a day, and more could even be done on the weekends. I don't think it's fantastic, But again, I could do wild things like get a chimney liner when we needed one so that we could run our wood stove so that we had heat. I also did super wild things. I think I paid $600 and had a whole load of logs delivered that we then chopped up, and that was our heat for the next season. I could additionally do wild things, and that $250 to $350 a month grocery budget, I could spend $750 at Costco. Wow. Those were miracles in my life. And overall, that business was bringing in 6 figures a year. I slowly learned, again, these are skills that I teach in YouTuber Extraordinaire that I learned my way through because I have the priority, I've always had the priority of caring for my family. And so in caring for my family, as a mom that works hard, I knew if I was gonna make 6 figures a year as a nurse, well, first off, as an LPN, I wasn't gonna make 6 figures a year. I would have had to have completed more schooling to do my RN and continue on from there. And then as an LPN, I was working full-time night shift weekends. I worked the Baylor 7 p.m. Friday through 7 a.m. and I did that for my first couple years of homeschooling so I could be home with my kids all week. And before I started homeschooling, I had a newborn and a 3-year-old, and I had a vision to homeschool. So I'm just saying, don't tell me I didn't want to do this, right? Had a vision to homeschool. I had a 2-year degree in IT, and I went back to nursing school, a part-time evening program to get my LPN with that 3-year-old and that newborn, so that by the time my oldest was then 5 and we started homeschooling, I would have a good weekend job to take care of my family. So I share all of those stories to say I've always been a determined mom. And so I know we're doing lots of chatting and I'm doing lots of history and storytelling, but as I read you these questions from other women, I want to say a few caveats that not all of our lives look the same. My life right now looks nothing like I ever thought it would look like. Hopefully we won't cry. We can say that. It's just reality. I did not know that at 45 I would be a single mom of a household of 10. That wasn't on my radar. It wasn't on my to-do list. It wasn't what I was thinking the next half of my life was going to look like. It's not the dream and vision I had my whole adult life. So those saying things like, I'm not married anymore because I just didn't want to be married anymore. No woman at 25 years, no woman that I have ever met, and I know a lot of women with a lot of experiences now, and not one, including myself, decides after 25 years they just don't want to be married anymore because it's not fun. I was living the life that I wanted. And so I know I have a good bit in my audience who are homeschool moms with a whole lot of kids, and they also want to start online businesses, and they want to start YouTube channels, and they want to figure out how to bring in an income. So the couple things I want to say are this. Number one, I grew up either living on a horse farm with Arabians and a whole lot of glory, or living in a camper with no heat and water. And I've shared part of my childhood story, and I'll link that for you in the description below. Also, in my adult life, I've lived many times at a poverty level income, and my quandary, just like the quandary of so many women, was I could work full time and we would not have a poverty level income, but then childcare could take everything I made or a big part of it. You have to do that juggle. And then also, like so many mothers instinctively feel, I say so many, how I felt and how many other mothers I know felt is that I wanted to be with my children all the time. And so the question then is, if we are going to forego my income, I had a 2-year IT degree, which I used to work for Gateway Computers, and I could have continued and pursued that. Then I went back to school for nursing, not being a nurse, thinking, oh, I'll just work full-time weekends. Well, do that for a couple years as a mom with a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then another year, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a newborn, and be breastfeeding. I started to have experiences where I was waking up while driving on that Monday morning. There were some not great, not safe things that started to happen. Plus, within the homeschool community, within my homeschool group, with the information that was out there on the internet about homeschooling in general, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, during those years, I did not know a lot of moms who were also working full-time on weekends and homeschooling. It was very rogue. Now, yes, there were some. I was one of them, but we were not supported. I was scared with waking up while driving, and I had my baby at home that I was breastfeeding. And I just, a couple years into homeschooling there, I was like, well, I just want to be a normal homeschool mom. All the resources were telling me, as a woman, I'm not supposed to have all these burdens. I'm not supposed to have the burden of working and the burden of provision and all of this, that I was outside of my role. I'm getting in deep waters, friends. I know I am, and I can't fully go in over my head, but I'm saying what I'm saying, right? I had a lot of that coming at me. And so I thought, and some of my early blog posts were even about this, that I would just lay down my nursing job, even though it was going to cut our income in half, by me being home full time and making biscuits from scratch and stretching my grocery budget and making my homeschool curriculum and eventually butchering mean roosters barefoot and pregnant by Googling my way through that, I would be able to make up that lost income. But you know what? About a year or so in that, I just, like all of you women, I am a creative woman, and I was itching to do something creative. I thought maybe I would start a Bible study group. I just wasn't sure. In college I started a group I called the Spiritual Outreach Group, and I don't know exactly what I was doing, but I was trying to do things, And so within all of that, I had been blogging, and I was reading homeschool blogs like every day. Amy at Raising Arrows every day, like 8 a.m. I was on her blog. I was reading her new blog post. I was just ravenous for the information. It was so encouraging. And I love Amy, and she's my friend. In 2007, like, I was there reading. And again, that's connecting to the online homeschool moms. And so while I was trying to just be a normal homemaking, while I was just trying to be home, being a resourceful, super frugal homeschool mom, printing off copies for my lap book. I learned to refill my printer ink cartridges so I could print off our homeschool worksheets in pages for like $20. I could get a couple months of printing. While I was doing that, I started to see the possibility, as I got into my hobby of blogging, that really filled my soul as far as connection with other moms and a creative outlet. And then within a year or so of that, I started that second blog that I then worked like a full-time working machine. You're telling me I'm gonna be able to buy the fruit and vegetables I want? I don't have to look for the right shoes at the thrift store. I can just buy the new shoes at Walmart. All those big life upgrades. Yeah, I'm gonna work from 5 to 8, and I'm gonna work and hustle from 1 to 4, and then at 7 p.m., I'm working again. And I worked with that energy for a couple years. And I shared all this on Instagram and some of my very first little YouTube videos. Within that, I saw YouTube, and it was so refreshing, because it wasn't me sitting on my laptop before my kids got up and during nap time and at night after dinner. I didn't have to sit on my laptop for 10 hours a day to make the money we needed come out of the internet. I'll say I didn't know it had that potential yet, but what YouTube gave me was, it broke me, you can say, in a good way. It got my attention, and it was super interesting. I was not thinking YouTube equals money. although I knew there was income potential there. And by that point, so now, probably YouTube's probably started catching my eye 2014-ish. And then I think some of my first videos where I was like, I'm gonna mess around on this, 2015, then more in 2016. And by 2017, I loved YouTube so much, so much. It was such a fun creative outlet. It was so fun for me to do big freezer cooking with you guys. And also during that time, I continued to hire and train more people in the running of my popular blog. Now, I could have kept that popular blog and went all in on YouTube. But the thing is, even though by the time I sold my blog, I was only working on it a couple hours a week, I had done so much work. I had developed so many systems and so many plans that worked, so much effective marketing, such a good audience that me as the creator and owner, by 2017, I was very much out of it. And I was actually having a lot of days where I was able to just be full-on focused homeschool mama, which was my heart. And then once or twice a week, I would film some content for a YouTube video that I would edit myself on iMovie and just get it out and throw it to the wind whenever I could. But it was very much fun, hobby level. And what I was wanting to do on YouTube, I really thought, you know what now, that blog, okay, guess what that blog has in it? That blog was still bringing in 6 figures a year. Over 100,000 a year, okay? And I like everything, expenses, people who work for me, all of that stuff. But I was still bringing home for my family. Now, I was the only income earner at that point. I was supporting the whole household. And I just thought, I've heard of some people selling blogs. And then they get whatever times the annual income after expenses. I wonder if I could do that. So in 2017, while I was very, very pregnant with baby number 8, I started to look around exactly how I could sell a blog. And I don't remember who now, but someone that I met somewhere, some full-time pro blogger that I knew. We were called pro bloggers then, okay? Some pro blogger that I knew that had sold another site put me in touch with a reputable broker, and I had a conversation with him. And again, he was just like a real estate agent. These online properties are assets. Like, I know people, pro full-time YouTubers, that sell their channel, sell the name, sell the content with it, and they make X amount of income with that. So at the time I was like, I could sell this blog that I have almost literally broke my neck for. I had a neck injury with all the time I was on that laptop looking down like this. Even today, I can't work like this. And I have to crack my neck oddly whenever I put it up. So I do chiropractic care, I do massages, I do hot Epsom salt baths. I'm aware of my neck because it holds my head, and that's important. And so I started the process to sell that super successful, profitable blog. I had it, all these systems. I worked my brains out all those years, and I got it up for sale for this broker. They have lists of investors that want to buy these online assets. And I will say, we worked very hard for several months during the end of that pregnancy. And my very first sale, just like sometimes house sales fall apart at the closing table, my very first set of buyers just all unraveled at the closing table. Like, they changed the terms. There was some ridiculous stuff. They only wanted to give me part of the money then, and then they'd give me another part. It wasn't what we had agreed to. And so I backed out. And I took a couple months off to decide, okay, well, maybe I'm just not supposed to do that. And then a couple months went by, and I was like, I feel like trying again. I'll just put it back up. I'll have the broker put it back up again, and we'll just see. And I want to say that was like October 2017-ish. And I just thought, we'll put it up, we'll see what happens. And by the next spring, March 2018-ish, again, I'm pretty sure this is right because my 8th baby was born summer 2017. First sale went through October, I think I'm pretty good there. If I get something wrong in my timeline, it's not because I'm an evil liar. It's just, you know, it's my life. I got a lot of kids, a lot of dates, a lot of things that have happened. So trying to keep my timeline straight. By spring 2018, and I know that because I have a video on this channel where I went with my good friend Ashley Buffa, and we went to a restaurant supply store in Richmond, Virginia. And what am I doing while I'm filming that video and we're at the restaurant supply store? Well, I'm literally like at the Mellow Mushroom on my phone signing sales documents. The sale goes through and I'm signing stuff while Ashley and I are eating out and going to the restaurant supply store. This is a very, very modern thing, okay? And so then by like the next day, they're transferring money and things just continues. I sold out. And I got a lump sum of money, and I had only made $30,000 the year before on my YouTube channel, okay? So what I did was a super big risk. And by taking that chance, and I felt like I could take that chance because I had all of that sweat equity from my blog, I thought I can go all in mentally into building and growing my YouTube channel and growing a whole other business off of that, because that sounded like my idea of a good time. And again, we cook from scratch, but building businesses from scratch, it's been fun for me. It's my idea of a good time. It's what I like to do. And I went in with all my creativity and drive in 2018 into YouTube. And the rest of 2018, I continued to grow that business. Summer 2018, I launched my first 3 big batch freezer cooking guides, and those guides made $15,000 during that first launch. And what that told me was that I was on the right track. I was getting more videos out, I was experimenting with the length of my videos, and I was implementing a lot of what I thought would work for me in growing a YouTube business from scratch based on the 3 or 4 years of hobby and heavy hobby YouTubing that I was doing. When I finally felt the freedom and the creative release to go all in, a lot of things, a lot of my plans, a lot of things started clicking together. Now, the clicking together again wasn't just because I had a great idea and it was super easy and I just used this right keyword or did this particular style video and it all came to me and it all took off. It meant that my plan and all the hard work that was required was wide open for me. So I wanted to give you that history. So all the way now, 7 years from that time, over 10 years total since I published my first YouTube video. Yes, this channel has generated over 100 million views. And the other day, not a lot of people have said, you haven't really gotten 100 million views, but I've seen like 2 or 3 comments about it. And I'm like, well, but when I click all my views for the lifetime of my channel, when I checked today, was 113 million views. If you look at some of those other social platforms that pulls people's numbers and such, I think one of them, I had like 106 million views. And so, yeah, I have. And a lot of other hardworking women in my niche, they also have earned 100 million views because they have worked YouTube like their full-time job. So you've come to my story time. This has turned into more of a story time with J. Morrell than a Q&A. I'm still gonna do some of these questions and there's gonna be more videos to follow in this series and it'll be more question, answer. But you know me, my oldest daughter had to pick 2 adjectives to describe me. She picked hardworking and chatty and I just thought, that's the best. If there was a tattoo, you know, I have that on my YouTube banner. I just appreciate that description. So as I do some of these questions, I wanted you to have a base of the history. Of course, many of you who've been around for 10 years or you were reading my blog 14 years ago, many of you, and it's wonderful for me to see, followed my blog back in the farmhouse when my paint was peeling off. You remember when I launched that second blog and you've supported me and encouraged me and grown along the way. But then some people are brand new, and even if they saw my channel, they didn't know I was really successful, like in a business sense. And so there's part of the story. Now in YouTuber Extraordinaire, I drill down deeper on all of these topics and all that I've learned and all that I teach. And in the live teaching that I'm hosting tonight, you can deep dive with me when you click the first link in the description below and sign up. And remember, if you sign up after the time that goes live, or if you can't make the time that it gives you whenever you go to sign up, you'll have access to that replay for 48 hours. So some of these questions are very much mom, work life, and even mom work life balance. No matter what, I think a lot of women, no matter their situation, are able to choose a mom work-life balance, but I can tell you how I've made that work for me in different seasons of motherhood. So this woman says, and again, all these questions, there's of course gonna be YouTube business mama questions and building a business from scratch and work schedule and so many things. There's gonna be homeschooling questions that I answer over the coming days. And there's gonna be women from all walks of life who have turned questions in. The question is, how do you balance mothering with work, toddler and baby here? So in my experience, when I had a toddler and a baby, I did my part-time LPN nursing program at night, which means my classes started at 5. So I was in class at night from 5 until 9, and that was 3 to 4 nights a week. And then besides that, I also worked at a special needs group home, not every weekend, but like 2 weekends a month. I would work Saturday during the day. Sometimes I would work Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. I also, where's my plasma scar? I donated plasma for like 2 years straight at BioLife Plasma. And that's how I got my grocery budget. I made $60 a week donating my plasma, and back then they had free childcare. I would take my 2 young children, they would be in the free childcare center, and it was usually like a grandma type figure, and she played VeggieTales. It was wonderful. And then I would sit with my nursing book, you know, memorizing the bones of the feet or whatever test I had that night, and donate my plasma and get my grocery budget. So always resourceful. Always resourceful womanhood and motherhood. I can tell you that. And looking back, I see one thing is I don't stop, and one thing is in every season I'm always trying, and that's my encouragement for women and mothers. So for me, I had my life set up at that time where I was home full time with my 2 small children, Monday through Friday during the day until the evening. 2 weekends a month I was off. Usually every Friday back then we did our little grocery shopping for the week with my $60, and that's also one of my friends, Debbie, that I sat next to every night in nursing school. She told me about Sharp Shopper. And I remember the first time I went there, they had those Campbell's soup like to go in the cup, and they were like 2 or 3 for $1. And there was fancy name brand food that was no way in my $60 a week grocery budget. And I could get some stuff. I could get some snacks. And I was limping along figuring out some scratch cooking, but man, Sharp Shopper was a huge blessing. And so at that time in that season, I did not work full time as a mom. However, my nursing school time, my study time, and my 2 weekends a month, I'm sure mentally was 3/4 time or close to full time for me. But I did have the space to do things again during the day, at least feel like a normal mom for the most part during the day. Now, when my youngest took his nap, and actually both still napped during that time, I was studying for whatever nursing test, because those tests just keep on going. I was studying for that in the afternoon for whatever test I would have to take that evening. And again, my vision was, and my drive was, and my push was, I was going to get through that nursing program so that I would have a good weekend job. Again, I was using and making choices with the information that I had. I thought I'm gonna get this done, and then that way when my oldest is 5, I'm gonna work weekends as a nurse, and that is gonna be my homeschooling career. And I'm gonna continue with online classes and other local nursing programs, and very slow continue with my nursing career, but I will only actually work on the weekends. So that's part of the choices that I was making in an attempt to juggle working and the needs to be a working mom and also motherhood. Another question is, now this is YouTube related, how to start. I have so many ideas, but afraid to jump in. Thank you for your videos. So click the first link in the description below and get my free training that I'm doing tonight. And I'm going through the 5 keys to YouTube success and to help you get going. So many deep thoughts there. I'm excited to share those with you. Another question, this is a good one, so we're gonna jump around. This is another YouTube and business related question. How do you stick to a brand when you're such a multifaceted, multitasking individual? So what I decided many years ago is that I was going to be a personal brand. And I do teach about this in my YouTube coaching and training. My brand is J. Morrell Stewart, and we can be big batch cooking homemade freezer meals from scratch, or we can shop at the thrift store, we can organize my basement, we can clean the refrigerators, We can get chicken on the sheet pan for dinner, which is what I was filming for one of my Meals of the Week video earlier. I can take you on a business trip to California, which is what I did last year. I can take you camping and show you the meals I make while I'm camping in the mountains, or show you the food that I prep while I take my kids to the water park in the winter. Now, I decided years ago, based on what I saw online, based on my experience and my self-taught expertise, that being a personal brand made sense, because that would give me the freedom to share about the topics and create the content that creatively was most accessibly available to me within my personal creative wheelhouse. So it has also allowed me to create a second YouTube channel. Now that is something new that I wanted to do because I have expanded topics and other multifaceted ideas. And I have this whole new journey that I'm walking out as a woman who got slammed by a freight train and working on my own healing. And now I'm gonna be on this lifelong journey. I mean, again, I'm 45. Half my life is gone, and I'm going to be healing for the rest of my life. And I have a whole other list of topics. So I thought it was a good personal brand strategy. It was a great time actually to create a second channel to expand my reach and also go deep into different topics over time. Now, it's not super polished. Nothing that I do is. I'm not in a studio with lights. I get asked all the time about equipment and such, and I'm here like, I have days I still record on my 5-year-old camera, and that's just based on where I'm filming, what I'm doing, what I have to work with. But the thing I have going for me is I don't quit, and I keep going. Even when my life has fallen apart, I will show back up and I will keep going. And that has been consistent for 14 years. Even though I'm multifaceted and I'm very creative and I have a lot of topics that I share about, because I share as my own personal brand, it gives me the umbrella to do so. Now, part of what I teach about is doing a lifestyle channel on YouTube, and you can focus in and you can pick 2 to 3 topics, and I deep dive into all those trainings and strategies. You do not have to create a channel under your name, and you don't have to do things exactly how I have done them, but you can still learn a lot from me because I've been at this thing. My 14 years of experience getting into an online entrepreneur, you can take so much of what I have experienced and what I have applied, and you can potentially shave many years off your fumbling around and learning. And even like right now, I'm hosting my first webinar masterclass. I've never hosted a webinar before. I didn't know webinar software, but after digging deep and putting time in to learn how to load my slides, how to set up my sign-up page, how to set up the different emails, I feel like I could teach a webinar 101 training, and I could share what I have learned about setting up a webinar. And that may in fact be something, you know, my overall vision is to create a suite of business courses called Successful Business Mama. And under that umbrella, we will have courses like now I'm focusing on YouTuber Extraordinaire. And I get into a YouTuber Extraordinaire because I'm hardworking and I'm chatty and I run my mouth a lot. I get into with those students already like, hey, I'm trying to teach you how to get started on YouTube, but I just want to let you know these advanced things to think about as well. You're going to need A, B, C, and D, and get ready for X, Y, and Z. And I know this is not an X, Y, and Z course, but listen to Mama Jammer, I'm going to tell you some about this. And so it really helps wet students whistle. You know, later I may have an in-depth Shopify course and an email marketing course and a blogging course and those kind of things. But in my current course offering, I get into many successful business mama topics. Another question, this is a good one, and this is, again, multifaceted Q&A. We will talk about all the things. I'm new to faith. Has your faith been challenged by your recent struggles? And this could be, this can be a whole topic or a whole video series. So I mentioned in one of my new videos over on my second channel, which I'll also link for you down below, and I've just mentioned it around in general. I love Jesus, okay? I have questions. And I don't think we should be scared of questions. And I also think that Jesus is big enough. You know, my experience with Jesus during my country song train wreck, like, and okay, we might cry, but just hold on. So many nights I have just walked and walked this driveway and up and down and all around. I mean, you know, I walk all around all the time, but I'm talking about like deep times, okay? And like the loss and the loneliness and all the things were like in my chest. And just all of it. Like I tried to explain it to one person, like up in my nostrils. It's just, you know, it's all up in here like this. And all I could pray, and many times to this day, all I can pray, I can just say, Lord, Lord. That's all I got. I'm like, Lord, my goodness, Lord. Yeah, and I don't have a lot of words. I can just say Lord. And I feel like I didn't know all my constellations. I don't think I can name them all now, but I do know the night sky better than I did. And different seasons, and just for walking and looking and staring and just feeling like it's just me and he is with me. You know, the Lord Jesus is with me, and I'm just walking and I'm just saying, Lord. That's all I got. So, yeah. My faith is challenged, but not in a, I don't think he's real sort of way. It's more challenged in a, oh, I don't think this is how I thought it was sort of way. And I know that can be pearl clutching. I know folks can clutch their pearls. But when you've gone through some things, and I had already gone through some things, and wow, okay. And so now I'm like, okay, I used to think, you know, I used to be very big because from everything I went through as a child, and I think I even mentioned in my childhood video how I was going to do other videos for you guys later about how I was relentlessly bullied and different things I learned and all those different things, and I never got back to that. So some of the things I got into as a young adult, I know now is toxic positivity, okay? A lot of what I learned being a Christian in my late teens, early 20s, all the way through, doesn't help when someone has been hit by the train, okay? And a lot of things that Christians would say, and I would say back then, and honestly up until 2 years ago, is spiritual bypassing. So do you see how, like this, other videos, other topics, other things, but yeah, I'm having a whole experience and a lot of things I don't understand. Like my eyes have been opened through my lived experience to a level of compassion and empathy for people going through hard things. Like I thought I had compassion and empathy, but now when I hear people's stories, I connect with them and I feel them on a different level. And injustice and things that are wrong, that are not made right this side of heaven, all I got is, Lord. And some people have pointed me to Lisa TerKeurst. I have read some of her books. I've listened to some of them on audiobook. And she shares her story, and I love people sharing their stories. I love people's stories. I think one of the titles of one of her books is It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. And just by that title, you know, I've had that experience, and I listened to that audiobook last May when I drove my kids to the beach for the first time as a single mom and then brought them back. And that was like, there's a video, I showed you the food, right? But that was hard. That was hard. I dealt with a lot during that trip. My therapist gave me the language of, it was like phantom pains, like of things that should be there that weren't. You know, I just dealt with a lot of that. And so, yeah, I'm super challenged on every level with my recent struggles. And so that's why, like, this channel, okay, we'll do these Q&A specials. We're gonna stick mostly to all this food because I am the mama that has boiled the 69 cent a pound bags of chicken leg quarters from the chicken factory. I have Googled how to butcher a chicken the easy way, and that's when I butchered those first chickens 15 years ago, barefoot and pregnant. I do come from a background of food insecurity and young adulthood, and just many times during my adulthood, having a poverty level budget and being creative. Now, yes, I don't have a poverty level budget right now during this season, but I have the skills on how to stretch a budget. And you know, I've been sharing about, I'm consistently trying to give myself about $1,500 a month for a household of 10. Some people don't think I'll be able to do it. I will be able to do it with wanting to do, you know, more farm-raised, homegrown, organic when I can type of food. And I may not totally be able to. I do have some good local resources like the John Henry General Store. I do have Sharp Shopper that just helps me get ahead on snacks and keep going. And I am financially able to buy a whole cow once a year for my household. And I love being creative with food. That is who I am. That is part of me, and that is a love. You know, I have some of my first blog posts, and I have this in my large family table community as well. Some of my first blog posts, I had a $400 grocery budget there at one point. I had this little meal plan. I had these 10 to 15 meals I rotated. I bought 15 gallons of milk at the beginning of every month. I froze 7 gallons, and then I put the other 7 gallons in my second refrigerator in my bathroom. And I didn't have 4 or 5 freezers. I had my kitchen fridge and my old fridge from my first house. And that's how I've fed my family of 7. And even at that farmhouse, you know, my first freezer was a used one from my neighbor's yard sale for $75. And I think my granddad, when he died, somewhere within there, I was able to get one of his old freezers that worked for a little bit. So I have loved being a mother and boiling chicken legs. And at the farmhouse, I was canning peaches and raising chickens and getting gardens in the back field. And I was not total Jessica from Free Rivers Homestead. I love Jessica, and I wish I would have had Jessica as a real life friend. She's my online friend, okay? We talk on Instagram, but I wish I would have had her as a mama friend just to help guide me in some of those areas, because I didn't get into the homesteading, whatever homesteading online would have looked like 2006, 7, 8, 9 there. Really 2009. Again, my timeline is always by my children. I was pregnant with my 4th baby. Is that right? Yes, when I got my first flock of chickens. And I laid down my full-time weekends nursing job, and I was trying to just get some bare minimum PRN shifts. And then by the time I had my 5th baby, who's now 14, you see, mothers, we just pour our lives into this, right? And so my whole adulthood is a timeline of my children. And so now we cry. What I'm trying to say is the content I create on this channel is connected very much with who I am. And yeah, praise God that I am in my situation, and I have worked hard for over a decade, and my business that I have built makes a full-time income, and my business gives jobs to other mothers in various situations, and my business also gives other small businesses business, and we do a lot of good through the work that I do on this channel. So all that to say, we're gonna still mostly be our big food, which is our roots and who we are here on this channel. And then on my second channel, I plan to spin off and go deeper with more of these questions like, Lord. And my whole theme over there for right now is hope for women who are hurting. So I hope that my stories and my journey and my doing the thing anyway and building businesses from scratch is an encouragement to you in any situation. You do not have to do it the way that I have done it, but you can learn from me and you can do it better. I know several women who've taken what they've learned from me and they've just done it better. They saved themselves years and years and years. They looked at that framework, they worked their butt off, they implemented that framework, and they just do it better. And I say yay for women working hard and doing the thing. And I am so appreciative and grateful for any woman who can take any encouragement from me. Please take what you learn from me and do it better. That's my heart. That's what I want. And again, please come to the free training that I am hosting tonight. The link will be down in the description below. I appreciate you. I've got so many more questions. Also, if you have other questions for me, you can go ahead and put them in the comments of this video. I had fun. Did you have fun? I had fun sitting here and chatting with you and storytelling and going through questions. And I didn't cry. I mean, coulda, but you know, emotionally, this has felt good for me. This has how I make a lot of my decisions is, what's this gonna do for me, for my one life? You know, that's not a question that moms always ask themselves. But when the freight train hits, it's kind of like, wow, I am laying here and I might not make it, and who's gonna take care of me? Oh, me, myself, and I. So, even doing these Q&A videos, this was fun. If you like this, let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Hey, I think as a full-time YouTuber, I should say subscribe if you haven't already. In addition to this current Q&A video series I'm filming, I mean, maybe we'll get back to having some Q&A videos once a month or so over here on the channel if you enjoy it. So I appreciate you. I'll see you real soon with another brand new video. And again, link, sign up, come see me tonight. Even if you can't join live, I'll send you an email and you'll have access to the replay for 48 hours. And have a super day. Bye-bye.